I still remember the very first day I met Emily. We were just kids back then, running around the same neighborhood, sharing crayons and cookies. She had this smile that could light up even the dullest afternoon. Her laughter was pure music to me, even though at that age I couldn't put those feelings into words. All I knew was, whenever Emily was around, the world felt brighter, and my heart beat faster in a way I couldn't explain. Growing up, she became my best friend, my secret keeper, and the one person who understood me without me even having to say a word. She knew when I was upset, just by looking at my eyes. I knew when she was pretending to be strong, even though she wanted to cry. We spent summers riding bikes, chasing fireflies, and lying on the grass at night pointing at stars. She always dreamed bigger than me. "One day, I'll see the whole world," she'd whisper, her head resting on my shoulder. And I would just smile, hiding the truth that for me, the whole world was already sitting right beside me. As years passed, I realized something. What I felt for Emily wasn't just friendship. It was love, deep and unshakable. But I never confessed. Why? Because I was afraid of losing her, afraid that if I spoke, things might change, and she'd drift away. One autumn evening, we sat on the porch, sipping hot chocolate. She looked at me with her big brown eyes and said, "Someday I'll go abroad to study. Will you miss me?" My chest tightened, but I laughed it off and said, "Of course, but I'll be right here waiting for you." What she didn't know was that I wasn't just going to wait. I was going to love her every single day, whether she was near or far. And that was the beginning of the journey I never thought would change everything. High school made everything more complicated. Emily and I were still inseparable, but the way I looked at her had changed completely. She was no longer just the girl who shared cookies with me. She was the girl who walked into a room and made every head turn. But she only made my world stop. I remember sitting in class pretending to take notes, but secretly watching her as she laughed with her friends. She had this habit of twirling a strand of her hair when she was nervous, and I found myself memorizing every detail of her, every gesture, every smile. The truth was, I was in love with my best friend, hopelessly. But I never said it out loud. Instead, I became the guy who carried her books, helped her study for exams, listened to her late-night fears about the future. She trusted me with everything. And while she was dreaming about scholarships and universities abroad, I was dreaming about us. Dreaming about holding her hand, telling her how I felt, kissing her under the stars we used to watch as kids. One evening, after a school event, we were walking home together. She slipped her hand into mine casually, like she always did. But that night, it felt different. My heart raced, my palms grew sweaty, and for a moment, I thought she might feel the same. "Do you ever think about the future, Alex?" she asked softly. "All the time," I replied, though my future always had her in it. She smiled, looking at the night sky. "I want to chase my dreams. I want to go somewhere new. But sometimes, I'm scared I'll lose the people I love most." Her words hit me hard. I wanted to say, "You'll never lose me, because I love you more than you know." But instead, I just squeezed her hand and said, "You won't lose me. Ever." What she didn't know was that every day I was fighting the urge to tell her my secret. The secret that my heart only beat for her. Senior year brought with it the big event everyone talked about, the school dance. Emily was excited, and I tried to play it cool, but inside my chest was burning with one question. Would she go with someone else? One afternoon, she burst into my room without knocking like she always did. She was holding a flyer for the dance. "Alex, are you going?" she asked, eyes bright. I shrugged. "Maybe. Why?" She sat down on my bed, crossing her legs like she owned the place. "Because I don't want to go alone, and you're my best friend. You'll come with me, right?" My heart skipped. For a second, I imagined she was asking me out, but I quickly reminded myself, it was just as friends, always as friends. That night, when I saw her walking into the decorated gymnasium, wearing a simple blue dress that made her look like she belonged to the stars, I knew I was gone for good. She saw me, smiled, and ran toward me like I was the only person in the room. We danced, at first awkwardly, then slowly, like the world was fading and only the two of us existed. The music was soft, the lights dim, and her head rested lightly against my chest. I closed my eyes, memorizing the moment. Her warmth, her scent, the way her heartbeat seemed to sync with mine. I wanted to freeze time. "You know something, Alex?" she whispered. "What?" My voice cracked. "I can't imagine my life without you." The words nearly broke me. I wanted to pull back, look into her eyes, and tell her she didn't have to imagine it, because I would always be there, loving her more than anyone could. But fear held me back. Instead, I tightened my arms around her and whispered, "Me neither." That night, walking her home under the moonlight, I realized I was living in the sweetest torture, loving her silently, desperately, while being her best friend. But little did I know, life was about to test that love in ways I had never imagined. The weeks after the dance felt like a blur. Emily and I grew even closer, spending hours at the coffee shop downtown, laughing at inside jokes no one else understood. Sometimes people would mistake us for a couple, and every time I heard it, a part of me wanted to shout, "Yes, she's mine." But reality was cruel, she wasn't. One chilly afternoon, we were sitting on the porch of my house, sharing a blanket and sipping hot chocolate, just like we did every fall. She seemed nervous, playing with her cup, her eyes darting away from mine. "Alex," she finally said, her voice soft but steady. "I got the letter." "What letter?" I asked, confused. She bit her lip, then pulled out an envelope from her bag. My heart sank as I recognized the emblem on it. It was from a prestigious university overseas. "They accepted me," she whispered, her eyes shining with excitement. "I'm going abroad." For a moment I forgot how to breathe. A million emotions rushed through me, pride, fear, sadness, and a heartbreak so sharp it felt physical. I forced a smile. "Emily, that's amazing." She looked at me carefully, as if searching for something in my reaction. "You're happy for me, right?" I swallowed hard. "Of course, you deserve this more than anyone." But inside, my chest was cracking open. The thought of her leaving, of not seeing her smile every day, of not walking her home or hearing her laugh echo in the hallways, it felt unbearable. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, replaying her words. "I'm going abroad." My heart screamed to stop her, to tell her how I felt before she slipped away. But then another voice whispered, "If you really love her, let her chase her dreams." The truth was, I was terrified. Terrified that once she left, she'd meet someone new, fall in love, and forget the boy who'd loved her since crayons and cookies. But still, I kept my secret locked inside, because loving her meant wanting her happiness, even if it broke me. After Emily told me about her acceptance, life felt different. Every moment we spent together suddenly carried a weight, like time was slipping through my fingers. She had only a few months before she'd leave, and though I smiled, laughed, and acted normal, deep down I was breaking apart piece by piece. She started talking a lot about her future, new friends she'd make, the city she'd live in, the adventures waiting for her. I nodded, pretending to be excited, but every word felt like a reminder that she was slipping away. One evening we were walking back from the park. The air was crisp, leaves crunching under our feet. Emily stopped suddenly and looked at me. "Alex, are you okay?" she asked. I forced a laugh. "Yeah, why?" "Because lately you seem different, distant." Her eyes searched mine, as if she could see straight through me. For a second, I wanted to tell her everything. How the thought of losing her was tearing me apart. How she wasn't just my best friend, but the girl I loved more than anything. But instead, I shoved my hands into my pockets and said, "I'm fine, Em, just tired." She didn't look convinced, but she let it go. Later that night, I stood in front of my mirror, staring at myself. "Coward," I whispered. I knew I was running out of time. If I didn't tell her before she left, would I regret it forever? The countdown had begun. Every day felt like sand slipping through an hourglass. I wanted to hold on tighter, spend more time with her, memorize every smile, every word. But I was stuck between fear and love. Sometimes, late at night, she would text me random thoughts. What if I get lost there? What if I miss home? What if I miss you too much? I would stare at the screen for minutes before replying simply, "You'll be fine, and I'll always be here." but what I really wanted to type was, "Don't go, Emily, stay with me. Because I love you," and every day the words stayed trapped inside me. The closer Emily's departure came, the heavier my heart felt. Days started melting into weeks, and suddenly we had only a month left. Every moment with her became more precious, like I was living on borrowed time. One Saturday evening, we sat at our favorite diner, the same booth we'd claimed since freshman year. She was talking about packing lists, visas, and the excitement of starting fresh. I tried to listen, but my mind was elsewhere, battling with the storm inside me. Her voice pulled me back. "Alex, what if things change between us?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" She stirred her milkshake nervously. "When I leave, I'm scared. What if we grow apart? What if I lose you?" My chest ached. I reached across the table, covering her hand with mine. "Emily, you'll never lose me. No matter where you go, you'll always have me." She smiled softly, but something flickered in her eyes, something unspoken. Like maybe she wanted me to say more, and maybe, just maybe, she was waiting. That night, when I walked her home, the world felt unusually quiet. The streetlights glowed dim, and the air was cool against my skin. Outside her gate, we stopped. She turned to me, her hair falling across her face, and for a brief second our eyes locked in a way that stole my breath. "Thank you, Alex," she whispered, "for always being here, for being you." And before I could lose my courage, the words tumbled inside my head. Tell her now." "Emily," I started, my voice trembling. She looked at me expectantly. Her lips parted slightly, as if she knew something was coming. But then her mom called from the porch, breaking the moment. Emily gave me a small smile and said goodnight before running inside. I stood there frozen, my heart pounding, my confession swallowed once again. As I walked home, frustration boiled inside me. I was so close to finally telling her the truth. But instead, I whispered into the night, words she would never hear. "I love you, Emily. I always have." Summer had always been ours. Bike rides, late-night talks, ice cream runs at midnight, it was our season. But that summer felt different. Every sunset carried the weight of goodbye. Every laugh echoed with the reminder that soon, things would change forever. Emily made a list of all the things she wanted to do before leaving. "We have to do everything, Alex," she said, waving the list at me with that mischievous grin. "No excuses." So we did it. We went hiking to our favorite hilltop and watched the sunrise, the sky painting itself in colors I'd never forget. We had water balloon fights in her backyard until we were both drenched and breathless with laughter. We even revisited the treehouse we built as kids, carving our initials a little deeper into the old wood. But my favorite night was when we laid on the grass in my backyard, staring up at the stars. The crickets were chirping, and the world felt quiet, just the two of us and the endless sky. "Alex," she whispered, "promise me something." "What's that?" "No matter what happens, even if I'm far away, don't forget me." I turned my head to look at her. Her face was soft in the moonlight, her eyes reflecting the stars. My throat tightened, but I forced a smile. "Emily, forgetting you would be like forgetting how to breathe." She laughed softly, but I saw her eyes glisten with unshed tears. She rolled onto her side, resting her head on my arm, her body close enough to feel the warmth. My heart raced, every nerve in me screaming to pull her closer, to finally tell her everything. Instead, I whispered, "I'll always be here." She closed her eyes, her breathing slow and steady, and I stayed awake the whole night, staring at the sky, memorizing the weight of her against me. Because deep down, I knew. This was one of the last nights I'd get to hold her this close, and the thought of letting go felt impossible. The days kept slipping away faster than I could hold on to them. Suddenly, Emily's departure wasn't months away, it was just days. 5 days. That's all I had left with her. We met almost every day, pretending things were normal. We laughed, we ate pizza at our favorite spot. We talked about silly things like which movies we'd watch if we had time. But underneath it all was a silence neither of us dared to touch. The goodbye that was coming. One evening, she invited me over to help her pack. Her room was a mess, suitcases open, clothes spilling everywhere. She was holding up 2 dresses, asking, "Which one should I take?" But my mind wasn't there. All I could think about was how empty this room would feel without her in it. At one point, she pulled out an old shoebox. Inside were letters, photos, and little trinkets from our childhood. She smiled as she handed me a picture of us when we were 10, faces smudged with ice cream. "Look at us," she laughed. "We've been through everything together." I tried to smile, but my throat burned. I wanted to say, "Yes, we've been through everything, and I can't imagine life without you." Later, when I was about to leave, she hugged me longer than usual. Her voice was soft against my chest. "I don't know how I'm going to survive without you, Alex." And that broke me. I wanted to tell her right then, scream it out. "You don't have to survive without me, because I love you. Stay with me." But instead, my fear won again. I just held her tighter and whispered, "You'll do amazing, Em. You always do." That night, when I got home, I finally broke. I shut my door, fell onto my bed, and cried like I hadn't cried in years. Because I realized something terrifying. If I didn't confess now, I might lose her forever. And I wasn't sure if I had the strength to let her go. The night before Emily's flight, the air felt heavier than ever. I walked to her house slowly, each step sinking with dread. She had texted earlier, "Come over. I don't want my last night here without you." When I entered her room, it was almost bare. The posters were gone, shelves empty, suitcases lined up neatly by the door. My heart clenched. Her world was packed away, ready to leave. She sat cross-legged on the floor, hugging a pillow to her chest. Her eyes lit up when she saw me, but there was a sadness in them too. "Alex," she whispered, "this doesn't feel real." I sat beside her, close enough to feel the warmth of her shoulder. "Yeah," I said quietly. "It doesn't." For a while, we didn't speak. We just sat there, listening to the faint hum of crickets outside, the silence filled with everything we couldn't say. Then she looked at me, really looked at me, her eyes searching mine like she was trying to memorize every detail. "Promise me something?" "Anything," I breathed. "Don't forget me, and don't let me forget us." Her voice cracked on the last word. My chest ached. I reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Emily, there isn't a universe where I could ever forget you." Her eyes shimmered with tears, but she smiled, leaning her head against my shoulder. We sat like that for what felt like forever, her heartbeat steady against me, my soul screaming words I still couldn't say. At one point she whispered, "Sometimes I wonder, if things were different, if I wasn't leaving, would we be something more than just best friends?" My breath caught. My entire body froze. She had no idea how close she was to the truth. I opened my mouth, desperate to finally confess, but fear once again tightened around my throat. Instead, I kissed the top of her head softly and whispered, "Sleep, Em. Tomorrow will be a big day." But inside I was dying, because tomorrow wasn't just her beginning. It was the day my world would lose its brightest light. The morning of Emily's flight felt unreal. The sun was shining, the sky clear, but for me the world was heavy with gray. I hadn't slept a single minute the night before. My mind replayed every moment we'd shared, every laugh, every secret, every unspoken word that I should have said but didn't. When I reached her house, she was already outside with her parents, suitcases loaded into the car. She saw me, and her face lit up, but her smile trembled at the edges. "Alex," she whispered, wrapping her arms around me. I held her tighter than I ever had, trying to memorize her warmth, her scent, the rhythm of her breathing, because I knew I'd be starving for these things when she was gone. The drive to the airport was quiet. She leaned her head against my shoulder, her fingers tangled with mine. Neither of us said much. We both knew words couldn't stop the ticking clock. When it was finally time to say goodbye, my chest felt like it was caving in. We stood near the gate, people rushing past us, announcements echoing through the terminal, but all I could hear was the pounding of my heart. Emily's eyes shimmered with tears as she looked up at me. "Alex, I don't know how to leave you." Her words shattered me. I wanted to scream, "Then don't. Stay. Stay with me because I love you more than life itself." But instead, I cupped her face gently, my thumb brushing away a tear. "You're going to do amazing things, Em, and I'll always be here, waiting." She threw her arms around me, holding on like she never wanted to let go. I held her back just as fiercely, silently begging time to stop. Finally, the boarding call echoed, and she pulled away, her hand lingering in mine until the very last second. As she disappeared through the gate, my world felt emptier than it ever had. And for the first time in my life, I realized what true heartbreak felt like. Loving someone so deeply, yet letting them go without ever telling them the truth. The days after Emily left felt like walking through a ghost town. Everywhere I went, memories of her clung to me like shadows I couldn't escape. The diner booth we always sat in, the park bench where we once spent hours talking, even the empty swing in her backyard, it all screamed her name. I tried to keep myself busy, college classes, part-time work, hanging out with friends, but nothing filled the emptiness she left behind. At night, I'd stare at my phone, waiting for a message, hoping to see her name light up my screen. Sometimes she'd call, her voice excited as she told me about her new apartment, her classes, the people she was meeting. I always laughed, encouraged her, told her I was proud. But the second the call ended, the silence would swallow me whole. Because what I wanted to say was, I miss you so much it hurts. I can't sleep without thinking about you. I can't breathe without wondering if you think of me too. One night after a long call, I sat in my dark room and whispered to myself, she's happy. That's all that matters. But my chest burned with the weight of 1,000 unsaid words. Then came the letter. A plain white envelope with my name scrawled across it in her familiar handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Alex, it read, I don't know how to say this out loud, so I'm writing instead. Everything feels new and exciting here, but some nights I feel so alone. And when that happens, the only person I want to talk to is you. Sometimes I wonder if leaving was the right choice. Sometimes I wonder if I've left a piece of myself behind. With you. I read those words over and over, my heart pounding. Did she mean what I thought she meant? Was it possible that she felt the same way? For the first time since she left, hope flickered inside me. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late. I must have read Emily's letter 100 times. Every word burned into me, every sentence carrying a weight I couldn't ignore. Sometimes I wonder if I've left a piece of myself behind. With you. Was it possible? Could she feel the same way? I couldn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with all the what-ifs. For years I had kept my feelings hidden, buried under fear and silence. But her words lit a fire inside me. Maybe I wasn't crazy. Maybe this wasn't just one-sided love. Maybe she loved me too. The next morning, I grabbed my phone, typed out 12 messages, and deleted them all. Nothing felt good enough. How do you tell someone you've loved them your whole life? How do you pour your soul into a few sentences on a screen? Finally, I called her. Alex? Her voice was soft, surprised. Hey, I said, trying to steady my nerves. I got your letter. Silence. Then, oh. Emily, why did you write that? My voice cracked. She hesitated. Because I miss you more than I can explain. Because even with all these new people, all these new places, nothing feels right without you. Because sometimes, I wonder if I made a mistake leaving. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would break my ribs. For a moment, I almost said it. I love you. The word sat on the edge of my tongue, begging to be freed. But fear still clung to me. Instead, I whispered, Emily, you'll always have me, no matter where you are. I could almost hear her smile through the phone. Promise? Promise, I said. But as the call ended, I knew something had changed. The letter had unlocked a door I could no longer close, and I made a silent vow to myself. The next time I saw her, I wouldn't hold back. I would tell her the truth. Months passed, and life without Emily felt like waiting for a song that never played. We talked often, late-night calls, quick texts between her classes. But it wasn't the same. Every time I heard her laugh through the phone, I longed to see her face, to hold her, to tell her what I'd buried for years. Then one evening, out of nowhere, she called me. Her voice was different, urgent, trembling. Alex, she whispered, I'm coming home for a visit. Just for a week, I need to see you. My chest tightened and I almost dropped the phone. When? Tomorrow. The next day felt endless. I paced my room, checking the clock every few minutes. My heart raced like it was preparing for battle. By the time her flight landed, I was already at the airport, my palms sweaty, my stomach in knots. And then I saw her. Emily walked out of the gate, her hair a little longer, her face glowing even in the harsh fluorescent lights. The moment her eyes found mine, she dropped her suitcase and ran toward me. "Alex!" she cried, throwing herself into my arms. I held her so tight, afraid she might disappear if I let go. She buried her face in my chest, and for the first time in months I felt whole again. Pulling back just enough to look at her, I whispered, "You're here." She smiled through tears. I told myself I couldn't wait anymore. I needed to see you. We drove home in silence. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It was thick with things unsaid, the kind of silence that hummed with possibility. Later that night, we sat on the old porch, the same one where we'd shared countless evenings. She looked at me with those familiar, searching eyes. "Alex," she said softly, "I need to ask you something." My heart pounded. "What is it?" She took a shaky breath, her voice breaking. "All this time, have you ever felt more than just friendship for me?" The world stopped. My secret, my love, everything I'd hidden for years was now standing in front of me, waiting for an answer. And this time I knew. I couldn't stay silent anymore. Her question hung in the air like lightning. My chest felt tight, my throat dry, but for the first time I wasn't afraid. I looked into Emily's eyes, the same eyes that had been a part of my life since childhood, and I let the truth spill. "Yes, Emily," I whispered, my voice trembling but steady. "I've loved you my whole life, since crayons and cookies, since late-night talks and starry skies. Every smile, every laugh, every moment. We were best friends, but you were always more to me. You've always been everything." Her lips parted, her eyes shining with tears. "Alex," I reached for her hand, holding it tight. "I never told you because I was scared of losing you. But watching you walk away that day at the airport, Emily, it broke me. I can't stay silent anymore. I love you. I always have and I always will." For a moment she just stared at me, her tears spilling freely. My heart raced with fear and hope, until suddenly she leaned forward, closing the space between us. Her lips met mine, soft and trembling, but filled with years of unspoken love. The world disappeared. There were no flights, no goodbyes, no distance. Just her and me, finally where we were meant to be. When we pulled back, she was smiling through her tears. "Alex, all this time I was waiting for you to say it. I thought I was crazy for feeling the same way. But I do. I love you too. I always have." Relief and joy crashed over me like a wave. I pulled her into my arms, holding her as tightly as I could, laughing and crying all at once. That night, under the same stars we'd once wished upon as kids, Emily and I finally found the courage to embrace the love that had always been there. She didn't know if she'd stay abroad forever or come back for good. But we both knew one thing. No matter where life took us, we'd face it together. Because best friends we were, but soulmates we had always been.